Canada's job market looks promising on paper. Booming industries, growing immigration, and countless opportunities. But behind the glossy headlines, a darker truth lurks. Why are so many Canadians struggling to compete in their own country? Part 1. The illusion of opportunity. When Canadians look at job boards like Indeed, Workopolis, or LinkedIn, the market appears flooded with opportunities. Every sector, healthcare, technology, construction, and retail, lists thousands of open positions. Politicians boast about record-high job postings and low unemployment rates, painting a picture of prosperity and stability. On the surface, it seems as though any Canadian who wants work should be able to find it quickly and easily. But reality tells a different story. Many of these job postings are recycled or never actually intended to be filled. Companies sometimes leave positions open online for months, either to collect resumes for future needs or to meet government compliance requirements for diversity and recruitment. To the average Canadian job seeker, this creates a frustrating cycle. Dozens of applications sent with little to no response. Another layer of the illusion comes from misleading salary ranges. A posting may advertise a competitive wage, but when applicants reach the interview stage, they often find the actual offer is significantly lower. Combined with unpaid overtime expectations, minimal benefits, and temporary contracts disguised as permanent, these realities betray the optimism seen on job boards. There is also the growing issue of experience inflation. Roles that used to require 1 or 2 years of entry-level experience now demand 5 or more. Positions that once required a high school diploma now ask for a university degree, advanced certifications, and years of unpaid internships. This widening gap between requirements and realistic entry points leaves Canadian-born youth trapped in underemployment or gig work. This illusion particularly affects new graduates. Many leave school with tens of thousands in student debt, expecting the Canadian dream to reward their hard work. Instead, they face rejection after rejection, told they lack experience. As one graduate recently put it, it feels like Canada is training us for jobs that don't exist. Ultimately, the so-called abundance of opportunity is a smokescreen. While the job market looks alive with possibility, countless Canadians remain locked out. This disconnect between perception and reality is one of the most devastating truths about Canada's modern economy, and it sets the stage for deeper problems that locals face. Part 2. Immigration and labour competition. Immigration has long been celebrated as one of Canada's strengths, and rightly so. The country has built itself into a diverse and multicultural society by welcoming people from around the world. Newcomers fill essential roles, bring entrepreneurial energy, and help counteract Canada's aging population. But beneath these positives, a growing tension simmers in the workforce. Many locals argue that employers often prioritize hiring international workers over Canadian-born applicants. The reasons are complex. International workers may accept lower wages, longer hours, or precarious conditions, especially if their immigration status is tied to employment. This creates an uneven playing field where locals who expect fair wages and benefits struggle to compete. Industries like healthcare, construction, and IT demonstrate this divide most clearly. Hospitals, for instance, actively recruit nurses from abroad, while Canadian graduates struggle to secure full-time placements. In construction, companies often lean on temporary foreign workers because they are seen as more compliant and less likely to challenge unsafe conditions. The tension is worsened by Canada's immigration policies themselves. Government initiatives often encourage employers to hire foreign talent to fill so-called shortages. While this may benefit industries in crisis, locals argue that the definition of shortage is sometimes stretched, with employers preferring foreign workers even when Canadians are available. For international students, the job market presents both opportunity and pressure. Many are on work permits linked to their studies, which can make them more eager to accept survival jobs just to remain in the country. Employers, recognizing this, may view them as more flexible candidates compared to Canadians who expect job security and higher standards. The result is a workplace environment where locals often feel sidelined. Instead of being celebrated for their skills and loyalty, Canadians are made to feel like outsiders in their own economy. This isn't about blaming immigrants, it's about examining a system that pits workers against each other in a race to the bottom. Part 3. Exploitation behind the scenes. Beneath the glossy statistics about job growth lies a disturbing underbelly of exploitation. In Canada's warehouses, farms and long-term care facilities, stories abound of workers being treated as disposable. Migrant and international workers are especially vulnerable, but locals are affected too, as employers cut corners to maximize profit. One common practice is underpaying workers below the industry standard. Migrant workers, fearful of losing their status, sometimes accept pay far lower than their Canadian counterparts. This creates downward pressure on wages, leaving locals with little negotiating power. Over time, it sets a dangerous precedent that normalizes unfair pay. Another form of exploitation is unsafe working conditions. In agriculture, workers labor in extreme heat without proper breaks. In healthcare, staff are pushed to cover impossible patient loads, increasing burnout and injury rates. These issues are not isolated incidents. They are symptoms of a system that values output over human well-being. Exploitation also thrives in temporary and contract work. Employers use loopholes to avoid offering benefits, pensions, or job security. A Canadian worker who once could expect long-term employment in manufacturing or retail now finds themselves constantly on short-term contracts, always replaceable. The most shocking aspect is how normalized this has become. Canadians often hear about labor abuses in foreign countries, but rarely recognize that similar conditions exist within their borders. Behind every low price at the grocery store or fast delivery package is a worker, often exploited, whose sacrifice makes it possible. This hidden exploitation erodes the very promise of fairness that Canada prides itself on. For locals, it means competing in a job market that no longer rewards loyalty or hard work, but instead punishes those who demand dignity and security. Part 4. Credential Chaos. Credentials have become one of the most contentious issues in Canada's labour market. Decades ago, a high school diploma could secure a steady, decent-paying job. Today, even entry-level roles demand post-secondary education, multiple certifications, and specialized training. The credential creep has locked many Canadians into endless cycles of schooling without guaranteed payoff. For locals, this means investing heavily in education. Canadian students often graduate with tens of thousands in debt, only to find the jobs available don't match their qualifications. Many end up in unrelated fields, questioning whether the system is designed to create success or simply generate tuition revenue. On the other hand, international workers sometimes arrive with credentials that are fast-tracked for recognition. This can create resentment among locals who feel their years of study are undervalued compared to newcomers with equivalent, or sometimes even fewer, qualifications. Employers exploit this credential chaos by setting unrealistic requirements. A receptionist job may demand a bachelor's degree and years of experience, while a warehouse role may require safety certifications that cost hundreds to obtain. For locals without money to invest in constant retraining, the barriers grow insurmountable. The irony is that many employers don't actually need these qualifications for the job itself. They use them as filters to reduce the number of applicants. This creates a culture where overqualification and underemployment thrive, leaving Canadian talent wasted in jobs far below their potential. The credential crisis reveals a deeper flaw in Canada's job market. It is not built to reward hard work, but to gatekeep opportunity. Locals feel trapped between the need for more schooling and the lack of real, accessible jobs to justify the cost. Part 5. Cost of living versus wages. Perhaps the most painful reality for Canadians is the mismatch between wages and living costs. In major cities, rent consumes 50% or more of the average paycheck. Young Canadians are increasingly locked out of home ownership, while many families are forced to move farther away from urban centres just to afford basic housing. Meanwhile, wages remain stagnant. Minimum wage increases lag far behind inflation, and even professional salaries fail to keep pace with soaring costs. The result is a shrinking middle class, once the backbone of Canadian society. This crisis is compounded by the rise of precarious work. Gig economy jobs like Uber, DoorDash and Instacart may provide flexibility but rarely offer benefits or stability. Locals who once dreamed of climbing the career ladder now cobble together multiple gigs to make ends meet. Food insecurity is another growing concern. A recent report found that 1 in 5 Canadian households struggles to put food on the table. Groceries have become shockingly expensive, forcing families to cut back on quality or rely on food banks. Taxes add further strain. While Canada's social safety net provides universal health care and public services, many Canadians feel squeezed by high deductions that don't translate into personal financial stability. Locals wonder why they work so hard, only to remain on the financial edge. The gap between wages and living costs is not just an economic problem, it is a generational betrayal. Younger Canadians, in particular, feel the dream of stability has been stolen, leaving them hopeless about their future in the country. Part 6. The mental health fallout. Beyond dollars and cents, the job market crisis has devastating effects on mental health. Canadians are reporting record levels of stress, anxiety and burnout. For many, the constant fear of unemployment or underemployment looms over everyday life. Young people feel this especially. Graduating into a system stacked against them, they internalize the belief that they are failing, even though the system itself is broken. Depression and anxiety are rising among those aged 18 to 34, who often feel there is no clear path forward. The psychological toll also extends to families. Parents worry about providing for their children, while older workers fear being replaced by younger, cheaper, or international labor. The sense of security that once defined Canadian employment has eroded, replaced by constant fear of instability. Mental health services are overwhelmed. While Canada invests in awareness campaigns, actual access to counseling or therapy remains limited. Long wait times and high costs mean many Canadians suffer in silence. This silent crisis reveals that the job market is more than just an economic system. It is a foundation of human dignity. When that foundation cracks, entire communities feel the effects, from rising addiction to strained relationships and declining community trust. Ultimately, the dark side of Canada's job market is not just about wages or competition, it's about the erosion of hope. For locals, the inability to compete is not simply a financial setback, but a profound wound to their sense of belonging in their own country. Canada's job market is changing faster than anyone expected. Locals are being left behind, struggling to compete in a system that feels stacked against them. So what do you think? Is this the price of globalization, or has Canada's job market been sold out? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget, like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more eye-opening stories that reveal the truth behind the headlines.